San Gabriel's, and even the mountain areas out there around, say, Palomar.
The beginning of a new work week is kicked off by bad weather again on both sides of the country. Good evening and welcome to WeatherScope. I'm Dave Schwartz. A Pacific powerhouse is slamming California with thunderstorms, heavy rain, and mountain snow. But first, let's look at the storm system moving up the East Coast. That's the one that left parts of Florida in shambles. For more on it, we turn now to Kristina Abernathy in the Forecast Center.
Thanks a lot, Dave. We're continuing to watch that storm. Of course, last night affecting Florida with a lot of rain and unfortunately a lot of severe weather. Now it's moving up the East Coast as a nor'easter, providing folks with rain, snow, and a lot of wind, and we could have some coastal problems too. Again, last night our low was in this area across the southeastern U.S. We saw a lot of rain, a lot of storms in Florida. Unfortunately, now it is moving up the East Coast, and we are dealing with rain and snow for the mountains and also a good bit of wind here, and that's making it feel pretty chilly out there. But in Florida, we saw scenes like this in central Florida where a family of tornadoes left a path of destruction across Osceola, Seminole, Orange, and Volusia counties last night. And as you can see, the damage is massive. The Florida Division of Emergency Management reports 38 people were killed while dozens are missing and unaccounted for. Hundreds of homes and businesses were destroyed. So that's how it looked, of course, last night. Today we're dealing with a nor'easter. We've got a lot of rain, a lot of wind, and the potential for sort of a sloppy snow in the northeast. Now, joined now by meteorologist Tom Moore.
Right. At least we don't have the severe weather. I mean, this nor'easter is a major nuisance, but we don't have to deal with the severe weather and tornadoes that just ravaged central Florida last night.
So we look at the satellite view. Maybe you can tell us what's going on right now and what we can expect for, say, the big cities, New York, Boston, and Philadelphia.
Well, all those major cities, they have a rain event here. We have an area of low pressure right here in the southern portion of the Delmarva Peninsula. Now, interestingly enough, this is the same position that the low pressure was in 2 years ago with a big blizzard in the northeast. But what we don't have is a big dome of Arctic high pressure or cold air sitting here to the north, a more wimpy type high pressure, and we've had that all year. So we don't have a big high-low difference and not a lot of cold air. But we do have enough cold air to produce some wet snow in interior areas of Pennsylvania, moving now up into New York State. But for the big cities, Philadelphia, where the rain really will slacken pretty soon, and New York and Boston, once again, we're looking at an all-rain event.
All right, so speaking of the northeastern U.S., we're joined now live by Kristen Dodd in New York City, and Kristen, dealing with some messy conditions there.
Yeah, to say the least, Kristina, very messy conditions here as we have been getting a very steady rainfall here in Manhattan for the past several hours, and it really is beginning to take its toll, not only on the folks here but also the umbrellas. As we're standing here at Columbus Circle right across from Central Park, we see a lot of folks walking by and some very gusty winds turning those umbrellas inside out. Looks like the umbrella sales tomorrow should be on the upswing here in Manhattan. A lot of folks are going to have to go out and get some new ones. We're still looking at this rain to continue throughout the nighttime hours, a very cold, chilly rain with the wind chills right now running in the teens. So anyone who is out and about in New York City tonight will definitely have to wear not only the raincoat but probably also the earmuffs and the gloves. And pretty much dressed like I am right now. Tomorrow morning when you're commuting in, we're also going to see the rain continuing, so watch out for some slow spots throughout the city. Back to you.
All right, Kristen, thanks a lot for that report. And again, Tom, we take one look at the radar and we can see just what kind of mess she's dealing with up there. A lot of rain across southern New England and on to the south.
A lot of rain, and of course, the storm is generating a lot of wind with gusts over 43 miles per hour now around LaGuardia Airport, so that just makes things miserable. And we're going to see it rain in New York for the next several hours. Now, by tomorrow morning, the area of low pressure will be close enough to New York City to cut the rain off and the wind a little bit, but then we'll focus our attention on New England. Interior areas will get rain. Look at I-90 south of Albany, the Mass Turnpike. Also around the Pennsylvania Turnpike, Interstate 81, Binghamton to Syracuse, heavy wet snow. Not a blizzard, it's manageable, but sometimes the heavy wet snow can get on power lines and cause some problems as well, but not a big blizzard.
And we also want to add that there could be some coastal problems too because of all the wind, maybe some coastal flooding for some areas as well.
Right, with a new moon and those areas from Long Island basically on up into New England, Long Island Sound especially vulnerable to that northeast wind.
All right, Tom, thanks a lot for that information, and we want to remind you that if you need any additional information and you're going to be away from your TV, check us out at weather.com. Now back to the studio for the rest of the country's weather.
Kristina, more El Nino-driven storms are assaulting the west tonight, causing dangerous conditions. More flooding, mudslides are expected. In Laguna Beach today, cleanup crews used some heavy equipment to remove mud and rocks from the PCH, Pacific Coast Highway. The road has been littered with debris in several locations from northern to southern California. In the Brentwood subdivision outside of L.A., several homes were evacuated because of a moving hillside. Also, a wall of mud in Ventura drove 10 people from their apartment building. Boy, oh boy, you know, too much of a good thing. Rain is a good thing for us here in the West this time of year. This is the wet season, but we have had such an onslaught of storms, just one after the other. The ground is saturated, and now it's beginning to give way. I hope your house or apartment house is not one of them. Fortunately, this is the last in a line for a while of really juiced system. Look at this. Since 7 o'clock this morning, the heaviest rain has fallen here in Southern California. You don't see any yellow here on the East Coast, or even with this weak system heading toward Chicago with some rain showers. This is just, this is exactly what we don't need. The winds are coming in from the south or southwest. The mountains north of Los Angeles up here are oriented from basically east to west. So this moist air is coming in perpendicular to the mountain range, which creates the maximum lift, allowing for the heaviest precipitation. And there is a tropical connection here, so the rain has been copious. Up here in the mountains, 6 to 8 inches of rain have fallen. Here in Los Angeles, it is just a washout. And up in the mountains, boy oh boy, up here at Truckee near Reno, we picked up over a foot of snow today. More will move through the Rocky Mountains here tomorrow, and even into the mountains of Southern California. Those snow levels are going to be coming down. This just the latest in a series of storms that have come into California, and many people have been hearing or reading through the media that these are El Nino storms. But technically, that's not true. Tom Moore's got all the details in our El Nino Focus.
Well, we'll try to clear up some misconceptions about these storms. During the past week, we've seen in the media and read that these were El Nino spawn storms. That's not necessarily the case here, and we'll show you why. Storms in the Pacific are very common this time of year. They come off the Asian continent, move through the North Pacific, and generate with a trough of low pressure in the upper atmosphere, and then they move toward the west coast of the United States. After all, it is the rainy season. But generally in non-El Nino years, they're directed up to the north into Washington or Oregon, and a few come down into California.